following what's happening at the public accounts sitting since morning. And of course, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is standing by. Early this morning, we reported that RLG Limited has agreed to refund about 6 million cedis to government after they failed to supply some 12,000 laptops under the free laptop distribution program in 2014. Joseph is standing by for some live updates right now. Let's cross over to Parliament now. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Gifty.
Right, tell us what else has been happening since we reported this afternoon that RLG has finally agreed, according to the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, to pay that money.
So there's been some update. From what we're gathering now, RLG is actually challenging the claim by the ministry that it's actually owed money to the tune of the 6 million cedis. You recall that there's the report of the Auditor General which made this claim. Let me just go through that briefly and then I'll tell you how the update is. According to for it to be distributed to students and other persons. Well, there was a policy to promote indigenous Ghanaian businesses, and so the ministry entered into an agreement with RLG Communications to produce and distribute 103,000 pieces of laptop at a cost of 51 million cedis.
I may have to interrupt you there briefly so that you can go back and start for us, because we lost you along the line briefly. So start over again so we can have a better appreciation of the issue.
Very well, Gifty. According to the Auditor General's report from 2015, back in 2010, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology gave RLG Communications a contract to supply 100.
Okay, we're having a bit of a technical issue there with Joseph Opoku-Gakpo from Parliament. It appears we have him back again. Let's hear that information there. Just so you know, what we do know at this point is that RLG is actually challenging the claim that they ought to pay that 6 million to the ministry. Let's hear from Gakpo again. Gakpo, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Great, I can hear you now.
Okay, so yes, so there's an outstanding amount. Just to sum it all up briefly, according to the Auditor General's report, RLG was given a contract to distribute 103,000 pieces of laptops. They didn't distribute that. They ended up distributing only 90,000. It was supposed to be at a cost of 51 million cedis, but with the 12,000 that was outstanding, it was supposed to be at a cost of 6.3 million cedis, which hadn't been paid. And so the Auditor General recommended that government should ensure that...
Okay, we're still having challenges with Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who was trying to explain to us exactly what the issue is. Earlier this morning, we had reported that RLG Ghana Limited has indeed agreed to refund 6 million cedis to government after they failed to supply some 12,000 laptops. And this was according to the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Professor Frimpong Boateng. So let's continue talking to Joseph on the telephone lines now. That will serve our purpose better this hour. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Gifty. I can hear you.
Because of the technological issues we're having, it's been a bit checkered. Let's start all over again. Tell us. We know at this point, by the way, that our RLG is actually challenging this information. So let's go from there.
Okay, and so, well, according to Professor Frimpong Boateng, RLG was supposed to have distributed 103,000 laptops at a cost of 51 million cedis. They distributed only 90,000. They couldn't distribute the additional 12,000, and so they were expected to refund 6.3 million cedis. Okay. Well, RLG, in letters that they've written to the Environment Ministry, which came up subsequently at the sitting of the Public Accounts Committee, are challenging this particular claim. RLG is saying that although they had been paid up to the 6 million to supply the additional 12,000, after it was realized that they hadn't actually supplied it, there was a fresh request from government to them that government would want them to supply 3,000 laptops, which were high-spec laptops, which was higher in terms of the specification than the earlier ones. And they supplied those 3,000 ones. And so the cost involved when it comes to the 12,000 actually equals the cost for the higher spec laptops, which they distributed only 3,000. So for them, that balances it, and they don't owe government any money, and government is not supposed to give them any additional sum. But when members of the committee drew Professor Frimpong Boateng's attention to this, he indicated that as far as they are concerned, the 3,000 so-called high-spec laptops, which RLG in its latest claim that they have actually supplied, did not meet the specifications. And so it's impossible to say that those 3,000 laptops, the cost of it equals the 12,000 that they were supposed to supply. So the government is standing by its position that it's a situation of RLG still owing government money, although for RLG, they swapped those 12,000 laptops with some fresh 3,000 laptops that they supplied to government back in the year 2014. And so no amount is owed as far as RLG is concerned.
Were the RLG, or was the RLG itself represented today at the hearing?
No, they were not present at today's hearing. Rather, committee members were quoting from a letter, well, not just a letter, but a series of letters that had been written to the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. In fact, what happened was that after the new administration took over back in January, there were letters from the ministry to RLG demanding that they make payment for the 6 million, or they go ahead and supply the 12,000 laptops. And so RLG replied, and there was a subsequent letter from government again to them. And so those were the letters that committee members were quoting from and drawing the minister's attention that RLG is actually insisting that it doesn't owe government any money. But eventually, the chairman of the committee, James Saveji, is recommending that they should go back and sit down with RLG for a conversation about this. He thinks that it's a case of something that can be resolved and the necessary mathematics done so that then whatever is owed government is paid. But for now, he indicates that if the two sides discuss and don't come to any agreement, then just maybe the Office of the Attorney General should be drawn in so that some form of legal action should be instituted to recover the said amount.
Sounds interesting. So I guess that was the conclusion on that particular matter there. But who else appeared before the committee today?
Mainly the focus has been on the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. So one of the agencies under them, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, were here for the sitting, and they complained bitterly about how the research that they are supposed to be doing is being affected to a certain extent by the activities of encroachers. They mentioned the CSIR site in the Adenta area and indicated that at a point in time, a nuclear research station was threatened by one of the developers who was actually undertaking its activities just behind the building. And so they would want government to step in to a certain extent to help deal with the issue. Committee members asked Professor Frimpong Boateng what he's doing to deal with that, and he said that they are taking that very seriously at the level of the minister himself to help stop the activities of encroachers. There were also concerns about the environment generally and the ban on the harvesting of rosewoods, which members of the Public Accounts Committee asked the minister what is being done to help enforce this particular ban to protect the environment. He indicated again that government is taking this very seriously and that they will take the necessary steps to protect the forest. The sitting ended like an hour ago, and the Public Accounts Committee has indicated that they'll be preparing the necessary reports on what has been transpiring to forward to Parliament when the House resumes next month.
Very well. What are we expecting tomorrow?
Well, the committee has been sitting for the last 2 weeks, and so when it comes to this particular session, they are bringing it to an end. From next week, they indicate that they will be preparing their reports. The week after, Parliament would be resuming sitting, and so that's when they hope that they would have done some additional sittings, and then they will present the report to Parliament. But the committee is not sitting from next week up until when the House resumes sitting on October 3. Okay,
Joseph, thank you so much for that update there. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our parliamentary correspondent. Well, he's not reporting on parliamentary affairs, by the way. It's just a committee, the Public Accounts Committee sitting. That's what update is giving us. RLG, as we know at this point, is challenging the view that they ought to refund about 6 million cedis to government, because they say instead of the 12,000 laptops that they were supposed to produce in 2014, they produced 3,000 higher spec laptops that makes up for that 12,000. So it's still an issue that's been contested.